We're going to do our next set of notes, and this is on mixed factoring. So if you go into Schoology, go to your notes section, pull up your notes on mixed factoring, and you can follow along with me. So this is just a review of all the different factoring things that we've done so far. And the thing that you need to remember is you're going to always look for a greatest common factor first. So let's look at number 1. So I've got a couple of them up here already. Let's look at number 1. I'm going to look at this. I've got 28a squared b minus 63b. And I'm looking for a common factor that I can take out, the greatest common factor. So looking at these numbers, I can pull out a 7. And I have an a squared b and then a b. So b is common among them. I can go ahead and pull that b out too. Now, what is left? 28 divided by 7 is going to leave me 4. I have both of my a's left, so I'll leave that there. And then I've got 9, because 63 divided by 7 is going to give me 9. And that b has already been pulled out. Now, here's where it's important to know the difference between the different types of factoring. Because once you've pulled out your greatest common factor, what you need to look for is how many terms you have left. That's going to dictate what you're going to do. In this case, I have 2 terms left. When I only have 2 terms, the only thing I have to look for is a difference of squares. So I'm going to look. Are these perfect squares? Yep. Is that a perfect square? Yep. Is this a difference? Yes. So that's going to let me know I'm going to have 1 plus, 1 minus, because that's the only way I can get that negative. So square root of 4 is going to give me 2. Bring down that a. That 9 is going to give me 3. So that one is finished. Can't do anything else with that. It is factored completely. And if I were to multiply all of this out again, I would get that number there. So let's look at number 3. When I look at number 3, I automatically notice something. I notice that there are 4 terms in this one. And when I have 4 terms, remember, I need to split it up. And I'm going to do 2 and 2. So I have to see, is there something common that I can take out of here? Well, I could take out x squared. That would leave me 1x plus 2y. So now once I've gotten that one out, now I'm going to go over here and look at this other one and see if there's something I can factor out here. I can factor out this negative 4, which is going to leave me x. Now remember, if I have 2 negatives, that's going to make a positive 2y. At this point, I'm taking these on the outside and I'm going to put them together. So that gives me x squared minus 4. And then I'm going to take the one that's the same and bring it down, x plus 2y. Let's look at number 5. When I look at number 5, I say, I can bring a 3 out and a w out. But what is that going to leave me? So 45 divided by 3 is going to leave me 15. I'm going to have 4 w's left. And this is a negative 3w, but I've pulled out a 3w here. That's going to leave me a negative 1. So now I look at this. I've got 2 terms in there, so I have to say, is this a difference of squares? 15 is not a perfect square, so I am done. I can't do anything else to that one. Let's look at number 7. What can I pull out of number 7? Well, when I look at the numbers, I can pull out a 4. And when I look at my x's, x2 is the smallest one I have, so I'm going to pull out those 2 x's. So now that is going to leave me 2x squared minus x, because the 4's cancel, I got 1x left, minus 6. And it's just a 6 because that x squared has already come out. Now on this one, notice I still have a coefficient right here. I can't have that coefficient, so I'm going to have to do what to it? You remember what it's called? This is my slip and slide. I'm going to slip this one over here. So I'll bring down this 4x squared because I can't just get rid of it. Now, I'm going to take that 2 and I'm going to multiply it there. So that's going to leave me x squared minus x minus 12. So now I'm going to figure out how I can break this down. So I've got my 4x squared, which I got to just keep bringing down now. All right, this is a negative here. So to get a negative, I know one's going to have to be positive, one's going to have to be negative. Okay, so I've got my x's. So what can give me a 1? Well, it's going to be 4 and 3. Because this is negative, I know my 4 is going to have to go with the negative. My 3 is going to have to go with the positive, because when I subtract these two, I need to end up with a negative 1. However, on this case, we have to be very careful. Remember, I've multiplied this 2 here, so now I've got to divide this 2 out. Bring down my 4x squared. So here, this didn't make a pretty number. It left me with a fraction. I don't want that fraction there. I'm going to slide that 2 over. So I got 2x plus 3. This one, on the other hand, is going to give me a nice pretty number, because 4 divided by 2 is 2. So that's going to be the answer on that one. All right, we're going to flip over to the back and look at 1 or 2 on the back. Now this is just a review of everything that we've done so far in this unit. All right, we're going to do 13, just 24AB plus 30AC. All right, when I look at this, I'm going to look at the number. What number can I pull out of those two? Well, I can pull out a 6. And can I pull out a variable? Well, they both have an a, so let's go ahead and pull that a out. And that is going to leave me 4b plus 5c. Now, there is nothing else I can do with that. I am totally finished with that one. So let's look at another one. Let's look at number 14. So 14, I have 9x cubed plus 9x squared y minus x minus y. First thing I should notice here is that I have 4 terms. When I have 4 terms, I'm going to group it. So let's see what we can pull out of here. Well, I've got a 9 I can pull out. Here I've got an x squared, here I've got an x to the third, so I can pull that x squared out. And that is going to leave me 1x plus, and then I pull that 9 squared out, y on that side. Now, look here. It doesn't look like there's anything common that I can pull out there. But if you notice, this is a negative 1x, and this is a negative 1y. So I can pull out that negative 1, and when I pull out that negative 1, I am going to be left with x plus y. Because remember, a negative times a positive is going to give me that negative. So at this point, what am I going to do? I'm going to put it all together. 9x squared minus 1, and then x plus y. Now, if you were to stop here, you would not have factored it all the way down. What do you notice about this problem here? If you look carefully, you're going to notice that this right here is a difference of squares. And we can't leave a difference of squares. I have to factor that piece out again. So I'm going to end up with 3x plus 1, 3x minus 1 times x plus y. You have to have it factored completely down, and you have to look at that last line and make sure there's nothing else that you can factor before it's totally factored. All right, let's look at just a few more. Let's do 22. All right, 22. We have 75x squared minus 30x plus 3. So 30. All right, so I can pull out a 3. And that's going to leave me 25x squared minus 10x plus 1. Now, this, what do I notice? I've got a coefficient right there. That's going to tell me slip and slide time. So I'm going to slip that way, multiply it in. So it's going to give me 3 times x squared minus 10x plus 25. Now I'm going to, this is a plus, but this is a minus. So the only way I can get this to be a positive here and this to be a negative here is I'm going to have 2 negatives there. So 5 times 5, if I put my 5's together, that will give me a 10. All right, so I am not finished though, because what did I do? Up here, I multiplied by 25, so now I gotta divide this 25 back out. So this is gonna give me, if I simplify this, that's gonna give me 1/5, and that's gonna give me 1/5. Remember, I don't want to end with a fraction, so I bring that over. 3 times 5x minus 1 times 5x minus 1. And the reason I showed you this is because sometimes you're going to see it written out like this. Other times you're going to see it written 5x minus 1 squared. And if you're going to write this out, it would look just like this. Remember, when we square it, we're taking this whole thing and multiplying it by itself. So be careful, because you may see it this way, you may see it this way. And it doesn't matter which way you write it in your answer. All right, one more on this page, and then I will leave you to practice. If you look at your homework 11, you will get some practice problems, and practice these because you're going to need to know how to do them for your next project. You're going to need to understand this unit fully. So yeah, 4x squared y minus 24xy plus 36y. So I can pull out a 4 and I can pull out a y. That's going to leave me x squared there, 6x there, and 9 there. Oh, this is a nice pretty one. We don't have a coefficient, so we just can go ahead and break this one up. This is a positive, but this is a negative. So that tells me a negative times a negative gives me that positive. So what can I multiply to get 9? That can add to give 6. Well, that's going to be a 3. And again, you see I'm left with a x minus 3 times x minus 3. So this also could be written x minus 3 squared. This is correct. This is correct. They're both factored out. All right, homework number 11. Go in there, do some practice. Make sure you understand how to do these. Make sure you know if you're looking, if it's 4 terms, you're breaking it up. You're looking for your greatest common factor. If it's only 2 terms, you're looking for a difference of squares. When you get 3 terms, you have to decide if you have a coefficient in front of that first one to do slip and slide, or if there's no coefficient, you can just factor it out. All right, keep practicing.